Hello, hello, hello out there, you beautiful coders. This is Angie the Coder coming to you on this wonderful Sunday night. It's Sunday, good night, I don't know which day. Oh, Sunday the 20th. And tonight we are going to dive into the NCCI Manual, Chapter 1, which is titled the General Correct Coding Policies Manual. And this is the most massive, I think. It's one of the most massive of all the NCCI manuals, and it's the one that really relates to everybody. So regardless of what specialty you code for or what kind of doctors or facility you work for, this manual has a lot of information in it for you. It's a very helpful manual. Now, in saying that, I'm going to tell you it's going to take me more than just one 15-minute video to cover this particular manual. This one has, like I said, lots of meat in it, and I really want to show you as much as I can. And I'm not going to be able to dive into every single thing in this manual because it would take forever, but I do recommend that you do a little diving yourself. Let this whet your appetite for Chapter 1 manual, and then, take your printed up copy or take your copy you've downloaded and go through it and see if there's more stuff in there that really applies to what you're doing than what I just showed you. But I'm going to show you some of the highlights and some of the things that I find interesting, and some of the stuff I'm going to show you might be a little bit repetitive, maybe mundane. It might be stuff you already know. But what's cool is now there it is in a manual, so you can point to it if you need to. So some of the stuff that you just know as a coder, you were trained and you can't always put your finger on why you know it, now you can pull this manual out and show it to any physician and say, this is why I can't do this for you. This is why I have to do it this way and not that way. So it's a really, really helpful manual. So let's get started. All right, so Chapter 1, the General Correct Coding Policies. The tools you're going to need to follow along for this video are you're going to need to go and download the manual, and you can do that at this link here. The link will also be in the description below, but I'm going to show you in a second real quick. If you followed any of my other videos, you've seen me do this before, but just in case you're new to the channel, I'm going to go ahead and do this real quick and show you how you can actually look it up in a Google search real quick and get it. Also, while we're there, we're going to select the PDF file for Chapter 1. You can print that up, or you can just refer to it on your computer in the digital form that it's in. And also, you want to grab your CPT code book or log into your favorite encoder. I'm going to be using an encoder tonight to show you this instead of trying to film my CPT book. So hopefully that will work for everybody. So what we're going to do first is I'm going to take you out and I'm going to show you, for those of you that haven't watched any of my other videos, how you can find this manual for yourself. Just type in your search bar www.cms.gov, and everybody can remember that, right? www.cms.gov. When you get the little box up, you get two people here, you get your little search box, and you want to type in NCCI. Hit search and click on the first link that comes up. Go to the bottom of the page where it says downloads, and you want to pick the download that says NCCI Policy Manual for Medicare Services and click that button. Now, I have done this so many times that you see I already have it downloaded. So I'm going to pop my window up and open the file. And then go into Chapter 1. So these are all PDF files. You just want, this is the 2017 manual. Oh yeah, that's right. It was created in 2017, but it's a 2018 manual. See? It even says January 1st, 2018. For the introduction, some basic stuff you guys all know if you're coders. If you're new to coding, you may not know this, but most of us do. NCCI was developed by CMS. It was developed to prevent inappropriate payment for services. And it was developed with two sets of edits. You've got your procedure to procedure edits, which are what we call the column 1 and column 2 codes. And then you also have your medically unlikely edits, which are your MUEs. And don't get too worried if these are terms that you're not super familiar with, because we're going to be diving into this pretty deeply. But basically the MUEs are just how many units you can bill of a specific CPT or HCPCS code. All right. All right, so the first thing we're going to talk about what I call the shall not rules. Thou shalt not do this, and thou shalt not do that. It's like the 10 commandments of coding, but there's not 10 of them. And these shall not rules start on, like I said, CMS doesn't call them that. Angie the Coder calls them that. And these rules start on, I think, page 8. And here they go. So, shall not rule number 1 is thou shalt not report multiple CPT codes when a single CPT code will describe the service. And the example that they give is for a surgeon OB surgeon who does a vaginal hysterectomy on a uterus weighing less than 250 grams with a bilateral salpingo oophorectomy. There is one CPT code that describes all of that. So we would bill that code, 58262. We would not break it out into the 2 codes. So we would not bill 58260, which is a vaginal hysterectomy, and then 58720, which is the bilateral tubal salpingo oophorectomy coder. I'm using RevCycle Pro tonight because that's what I use every day in my work. I've also used Encoder Pro, Craneware. I love the AAPC encoder. There's all kind of different options out there. So you use the encoder that makes you happy and comfortable. But I'm going to be using this one because this is the one I use every day. And so this is how ours work. So if you go here, go to Edits and go to CCI. That was not the right ones. Never mind. Hold on. Sorry, I can't see what I'm doing tonight. Okay. All right. So if I put in the way they did it, the way they said we couldn't do it, which is 58260 with 58720, and I hit search, it tells me, warning, these 2 codes cannot be billed together. You cannot bill your vaginal hysterectomy for uterus 250 grams or less, and also bill a salpingo oophorectomy in addition. And notice it has a separate procedure identification on that. But if we look over here, it tells me that these 2 codes are bundled and a modifier is not allowed. So you can't bill these to Medicare ever this way. You cannot do that because modifiers are not allowed. This cannot be unbundled. Instead, Medicare would want to see us do the correct thing. This is why they call it correct coding. So when we went to school to become coders, and when we went to train to be coders, we were told to code it this way. So we want to code it this way. 58262. Vaginal hysterectomy for a uterus of 250 grams or less with the removal of tubes and or ovaries. Ta-da! I know for a lot of you guys who've been coding for a long time, you're like, and probably some of you that haven't been coding that long, you're like, well, that's just common sense. It is, but the cool thing is Medicare's put this in writing. Medicare says, don't do it. So we don't do it. That's what we do. So shall not rule number 2. Thou shalt not fragment a procedure into its components. The example that they gave is an anal endoscopy with a biopsy. Now, I probably wouldn't have chose this example, but this is the one Medicare went with, so we'll go with it. All right, so yes, it's okay to bill code for 6606. But no, you would not bill 4660 and 45100 with a 51 modifier. All right, so we're going to go back to our edits again. Now, what they said we could not do was this. They said don't put in 46600 with 45100 because those are bundled. But in this case, notice a modifier is allowed. But look at here. What you have is a biopsy anal rectal wall anal approach, and it says anoscopy. So what you're doing is you're basically billing 2 codes when this one code will work just fine. And this is very similar to the last thou shalt not. Very close. So if you look at the code they say to use, it says anoscopy with biopsy. So you're saying the same thing, but you're only using one code to say it. And that's what they're saying. Don't fragment things unnecessarily. So that makes sense, doesn't it? All right. Shall not rule number 3. Thou shalt not unbundle a bilateral into 2 unilaterals. Example given was bilateral mammography. So what you would bill was 77066, not 77065 times 2 units, or even 77065 with the LT modifier, and then bill it again 77065 with the RT modifier. So they're saying if there's a code that says bilateral, don't bill out 2 unilaterals. So we'll go out and look at this one and look up 77066, which is your bilateral, and this is the digital. Whoop, nope, I didn't put that in right. My bad. Here we go. It's not the digital. We're going to do it this way so you can see it up close. All right, so 77066, which is the code they recommended, actually says diagnostic mammography, including the computer-aided detection, or the CAD, when performed bilateral. What they told you not to do was this. Diagnostic mammography, including the CAD, when performed unilaterally. They're saying do not take this code and put 2 units on it, or split it out on 2 lines with a right modifier on one and a left modifier on the other. That's a no-no. Instead, if there's a bilateral procedure code, go with it. So that makes perfect sense, right? All right. Shall not rule number 4. Thou shalt not unbundle services that are integral to a more comprehensive procedure. And the example given was a total abdominal colectomy. So it's a removal of the colon abdominally. And they said it's okay to bill it as 44150, but you would not bill it as 44150 and 49000 with a modifier 51. And we're gonna look at that in just a second, but what they're telling us here is the 49000 is the exploratory laparotomy, and that is included in the abdominal service. So if you are doing a service that requires an entry into the abdominal cavity, you can't bill for an exploratory laparotomy, is what they're saying. So actually, we don't even need to go out and look at that one. If you guys have a CPT code book, go check that out. But any open abdominal procedure, you should not be billing 49000 with it, because that should be included if it's the same session. All right. So besides the shall not rules, there are more rules. So there are like 14 more rules. There's going to be more, but there are 14 more rules to discuss, and they're the rules of the medical surgical package. And that's where we're going to have to stop for today, because we're completely out of time. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button and hit the little bell if you want to be notified when we have more videos coming out. You guys have a great night, and I will see you next week.